Now I want to help you visualize what I'm seeing. Imagine that the world is vegan. We're all vegan. Yay, it's great. We're healthy. Our minds and our brains, our bodies are working well. All of humanity just really enjoying life in a way that we just haven't. Maybe, I don't know, ever? Possibly. I had the good fortune, great degree for being a financier. I studied Asian studies and went to China in 1982. And China has gone through many different cycles in the last 5,000 years of civilization. And there's been usually a brutal phase. And then, like maybe it was building the Grand Canal or the Great Wall. And these were huge economic concepts. Like, you may not know this, the Great Wall was one of the first continental information systems. They had little towers on each peak of the mountains, and they could very quickly get information from the capital all throughout China by using lanterns and a signaling process. Now, think of the internet, right? Information is moving faster than before, but back then, that kind of innovation created huge economic gains. And now those economic gains end up resulting in so much sufficiency that people turn their attention to the more spiritual pursuits. And time again in China, you see these great artistic flowerings, the Tang Dynasty of the 700s. Just people sat around carving Buddhas of every size. You'd go and see caves just full of Buddhas, because that's what there was to do, is just to really enjoy life and experience the beauty of that kind of completion and of the whole cycle from violence to peace. And we're at that moment now. The world looks terrible. We're looking out, but the resolution of these issues can be so profound, and it's our job to work in that way. And to work on that kind of future. So let's imagine, for example, one of the biggest sectors of the economy is the healthcare sector. Globally, it's $8 trillion a year. And Dr. Dean Ornish says that 86% of healthcare goes to treat chronic illness these days that's caused by diet and lifestyle, and that largely can be healed. I just listened to a great discussion with Dr. McDougall. And the thing is, these doctors, they're not getting the message out broadly enough, because they're the pioneers. They invented the protocols, and they invented ways of making sure they could do their work and prove their case. And in fact, now Dr. McDougall, thanks to COVID, has demonstrated that he can be more effective using telemedicine. So 86% of $8 trillion is a $7 trillion open market for plant-based lifestyle medicine. It's a fantastic growth opportunity. So imagine that we've got thousands of plant-based healthcare practitioners helping people with every kind of delivery of that service. Telemedicine, local clinics, and the marketing of that service educates people. Most people have no idea, just, for example, how reliably type 2 diabetes can be reversed with a plant-based diet. Now, see your own doctor, get your own medical, don't just go out and do something because I said so, but do your own homework. Most people have no idea. The education of our culture is really at stake, and if we take what these pioneers have done and finance it properly, they in turn have already trained thousands of other MDs. But those MDs, they went to medical school, they didn't go to business school. They don't necessarily know how to organize an income in that field of plant-based medicine. That's a hard thing to do. That's why our community needs to come together to finance these ideas and bring in the capital so that we can hire those doctors away from their current jobs, and so many of them have told me how they hate their work every day, and yet they just don't know how to get out of it and make a living as a plant-based doctor because they're so deep in the system. So we have to rescue them and put them to work doing the right thing. So same with restaurants, for example. I mean, our whole food system again is so antiquated, and when you think of the junk food restaurants, that's a kind of lifestyle training. The people who work, you go to a junk food restaurant, you walk in the door, and the people behind the counter are not well because they're eating a junk food diet on their breaks. They're eating what they're serving. And so they're a living demonstration of what happens when you eat that way. Now, if we can create alternative restaurants and hire people, then we get to train them in how to be healthy at the same time. That's another massive sector. I recently discovered, there's a really quite vibrant plant-based materials sector working to replace animal inputs in every kind of material that's currently being used in industrial processes. Now, the general public doesn't know about this. Like, this is something that's actually succeeding. Billions of dollars have been invested in this niche, and this is another huge niche. So investment funds that allow the general public to participate. What's another thing? Already there are companies that are providing cash flow to people who buy and hold forest land using the evolving climate credits that are available, and they're just going to become more available as the governments of the world wake up and realize we have to incentivize the protection of nature. So it's the dawn of that. And the more we educate, the more willingness there is to allocate cash flow to those kind of purposes. Buying and holding land is a huge, just trillions and trillions of dollars could be spent just doing that. Let's look at some of the smaller sectors. Right now we've got at Vegan Launch, people who've come through our founder mentoring program. We've got a project with a company that is trying to transform the beauty sector. That's $600 billion a year. Because there's so much animal cruelty in the beauty sector. And another one, transforming the wine sector, veganizing a $416 billion wine industry. And these are the kind of work, these are the jobs, these are the companies that have already envisioned the future, a beauty sector where there's no animal cruelty. Some vegans might say we don't need any beauty sector, but let's move where we can. And a lot of, do we need wine? I don't know. But obviously $416 billion worth of other people like drinking wine. So let's make it vegan. And if wine becomes passé, we'll still have a lot of grapes. We'll have a lot of healthy soil to use in any other kind of agriculture that we might want. So there's really not a whole lot of risk in doing that. If we look at the dairy industry, that's another $600 billion industry. And we can see Oatly, they're making great progress. In 2020, their sales were 420 million. So 1% of 600 billion is 6 billion. So they got a way to go. That means that to get to that future of the whole $600 billion dairy industry being vegan, we need to launch and grow maybe hundreds of companies now. There's everything from supply chain. Are there going to be enough, whether it's yellow peas or oats or almonds, whatever ingredient, there's just a massive opportunity in transforming that sector. And so we start looking and we just see this is the world that we can create. And I'm just imagining communities, for example, of plant-based milk companies working together, and even companies buying dairies and transforming them, and that's already happening. And same with the animal, the animal flesh industries. if we organize ourselves financially, we can buy those industries and then transform them from the inside. Same with, there's so many opportunities. And that's what happens when you really look, like, what would it really take? If we only look and say, if we look out in the world and we feel hopeless, we're not going to see what I'm seeing. Part of what Vegan Launch is all about is seeing and just showing pragmatically. I mean, BlackRock, a lot of people have heard of BlackRock, Goldman Sachs. These companies have trillions of dollars under management. If we get to $1 trillion, we're still going to be a little fish. I just want you to understand that, in the ocean. That's how the world is, and we need to step up and decide that we're going to take that responsibility. So those are, that's just the beginning. I'm sure that you can envision even more. And hopefully just by watching this video, you'll begin to think, it's like, wow, I really could do this thing that I think is needed. So we're breaking the problem down from the big vision of everybody being vegan. Now, what are the steps? What are the indicators of that world? That we're taking care of everyone's health and that the food supply is cleaned up and all the industrial processes now have been veganized. That covers a lot. There's probably more, but let's wrap this video up and we'll get into the next one. Thank you for watching.